Welcome today, coming from the Jersey Shore, all the way from one of my hometowns. Today's going to be a good conversation. Welcome to another episode of the 1% in Recovery podcast, where we encourage you to laugh every day, to work hard in recovery, work hard in your relationships, work hard in your jobs or your business or in school. Just work. And to love unconditionally. Put more love out there and let more love return to you. Remember, recovery is beautiful. You cannot outthink an emotional issue, and your EQ is your IQ. Now we encourage people to join the Facebook group Recovery Freedom Circle. It's a community where people can talk about recovery, the steps, something that they want to achieve, a dream, a goal, something big. Maybe it's also something that you're struggling with, something that you want other people's input on. It's all about recovery. It's all about living our best life. Now, let's just jump on in. Ron, how are you feeling today?
Oh, Hugo, I am fine, thank you. It's good to be alive, and let me tell you something, and it is good to be sober.
It is. Well, let's jump in. Tell the audience one thing you love.
Hugo, I have been a Looney Tune New York Giant football fan ever since I have been a little boy. And as we get into the podcast, I'm going to do the best I can to tie that into my recovery, because it's been one of the most fun things that I have been able to do over all the years that I have been sober. So yeah, I'll talk more about that as we get into it.
Yeah, and over these years, since I've been alive, these 58 years, I remember the 70s were horrible to be a Giant fan. And then the
Yeah,
80s, you got a couple titles. And then, of course, the famous ones against the Pats in the 2000s. I mean, you had some good runs, some actually good seasons. Even the ones that you didn't think you were going to win.
that's right. That's exactly right.
All right, let's
And
jump into the questions. The first question. Now, you were someone who had a drinking problem. Your family was able to get you into a treatment center there in New Jersey. And when you answer the question, tell us the treatment center that you went to. But also, not only so much about the treatment, but really that piece that comes so critical afterwards. Everybody does so well for whether they're in there 21 days, 28, 30, 45 days, and then they get out and it's like, oh, now they're like thrown into the not only the deep end in the pool, they're like in the ocean.
that's right.
And everyone says you got to have a plan once you leave treatment, so you stay sober and you continue this road of recovery. Talk to us what your treatment center did to stress the importance of what are you going to do that first day, that first almost 48 hours, and then talk to us, tell us what happened, I guess, with your first group, I think, which I believe became your home group, and which
That's right.
really just started you on this journey of what we have. You said 27 years.
No, actually, it's 32.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
32. I'm sorry.
No, no big deal.
So now you're over 30. So 32 years. So tell us about the that importance.
You know, I that is one of the things I do remember. First of all, it was the Carrier Foundation here in Bedminster. No, in Belmead, New Jersey. And Hugo, the one thing that I do remember so clearly, every single day being pounded into us. You've got to go to a meeting when you get out. The first day, with the day you get out, you've got to go to a meeting. You've got to go to a meeting. And the other thing that they also did for us, and this was so many years ago, there was no internet or anything like that. We as each person, and I'll speak for myself here, as I got closer to being released, they gave me a meeting book. And they just said, go through the meeting book and start highlighting the meetings that you think you want to go to. It's a plan for you. So this way you're not going in blind, as it were. And I'll tell you, I do want to tell you, because this was really significant for me. On the day I got out, I was living with my mom and dad, and so they had come to pick me up. I had said goodbye to everybody, and I was ready to walk out the door. And my counselor, Lucine, said to me, Ron, wait, before you go, I need to tell you something. And I was like, okay. Ron, you are either a candidate for very, very good, very long term sobriety, because in the 28 days you've been here, you have said and done all the right things. And I'm smiling and I was like, wow, that's nice. Yeah, it's really cool. Or you are the best bullshitter I have ever seen in my entire life. And I remember having the conscious thought, I don't know which one it is. I'm not sure which one it is. I ended up going to the 5:30 meeting. This was a Friday in Florham Park. It was a discussion meeting. And one of the things I'll never forget, they also said to us, go early, talk to people, stay late, and all these other things. I walked in there. I was nervous. I was scared. This guy, Jimmy, comes up to me. Hi, I don't recognize you. Are you new? My name is Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy. I'm Ron, and yes, I'm new. We started talking about the New York Rangers. Now, I'm a diehard Giant fan. I love the Rangers too. And my point is, just instantly, I was like, wow, this guy's normal. This guy's okay. I'm not getting AA shoved down my throat the instant I walked in. And that was so significant for me. And after all these years, Jimmy is still around. I still see him every single Saturday at 10:30 in Florham Park where I go, and we still talk about that. So that was incredibly important for me. The other big, big thing for me, and I remember this too, they all, go to a meeting on your first day. Fine. Never, ever, ever leave a meeting without knowing when your next meeting is and where it is. And that was important to me too. And I still do that now.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I think people don't realize how delicate and thin that line is, whether you can just start catapulting your way to this new life, or you just get easy back into the old bad habits or around people
That's right.
that in their heads are just trying to be friendly, like, hey, let's go grab a drink. Or,
Right.
they kind of encourage you to get back into the old behavior where you don't know, you're trying to find out who you truly are. And I think that's the important thing. And I also like the fact, like, Jimmy was talking about the Rangers. He wasn't talking program. I hate when people start telling people, it's like, you have to buy a big book, or you got
Right.
to understand that, if you don't come to meetings, you're going to probably end up in prison, insanity, or death. Or it's like, why are you trying to berate someone? And you wonder why a lot of people don't come back to their second meeting is because you just sound like, and when people say, well, 12 steppers sound like cults, and they can
Yes.
if they're not careful. In the beginning, it's just like, all you need to do is, they're not going to remember anything.
Right.
You just
That's
got to get them,
exactly
just get them,
right.
like you said, get them to the next meeting. Let
That's
them,
it.
understand a few things, because it is scary. It's like you're thinking about, man, I'm not going to be gambling. I'm not going to be drinking. What am I going to be doing, with this other time?
That's right.
So I like the fact that, kind of made it normal, and where it felt almost motivating to go to your second meeting. And
That's
then
it.
if you went back out, you went back out, but you were kind of getting into that. It's just like everything. You just have to just build a little bit. You're not going to run a marathon with just, walking around the neighborhood one day and then all of a sudden you're ready for 26.2 miles. You're going to have to build it up, just like everything.
That's right. And that again, for me at least, I love the slogans, and I try to live by the slogans too. That's the day at a time. I mean, it really, really is. How do you accumulate 32 years? You don't drink, one day at a time. And
Right.
it all of a sudden it's like, oh wow. And what was significant, and I haven't thought of this in a while. When I had 90 days, I celebrated my sponsor Chris gave me my coin. And again, it's what an exciting time. My parents were there and everything else. Chris comes up to me after the meeting. He goes, "What's the next big achievement?" And I was like, "I don't know, Chris, a year? No. Well, 6 months? No." And he realized I wasn't gonna get it. He goes, "Ron, the next big thing, day 91." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got it. Each day is a big achievement. Makes sense to me."
It is. All right, let's jump into question two. You run a leadership training company and you've had for over 20 years. Now, talk of the importance of leadership, because I talk especially about men. We're trying to build men into leaders, and of course, when you're an alcoholic, you're an addict, you're a gambler, you're just to total into an addiction. You're not able to even lead yourself. And the 12 steps, I believe, is so good because so many people come in with low self-esteem, and no one, they've got their whole family and friends or even companies. I don't trust you. You're going to F something up. You're going to do something wrong. And then they're saying this is, hey, why don't you chair a meeting? Why don't you become a secretary? Why don't you become, something like with intergroup? They encourage you to take on these leadership roles. And how important is that to, in your opinion, for people, early on, when they have, depends on what it is, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Talk to us how that helps, and then that translates to their career as well as to their home life. When you're trying to lead a family.
I think it's a critical piece for a lot of different reasons. I mean, early on for me, again, it was the same thing what they drilled into us at Carrier. What you're talking about here, Hugo. Get a coffee commitment. Get there early. Set the chairs up. Take the chairs down. For me, particularly before the meeting, for whatever reason, that was, Ed, I used to like to get there early. I got a coffee commitment early on. And number one, it gave me structure.
Right.
There was an expectation there for me. You have to be here and at least an hour before the meeting starts. And then, equally as important, it started to give me the opportunity to talk to people, to get to know people just outside of the meeting itself. There were times, and again, with what we started with, just talking about whatever, talking about the Rangers, talking about music, talking about whatever. There were times, no doubt at all either, and this is important, the program itself too, just talking about maybe the steps or whatever it might be in a more informal setting too. And as I started to do that, I started to realize, it was like, okay, okay, I can contribute. I am making a difference. And Hugo, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, you said it out loud though. I had just zero self-esteem when I started. Just none. It's like I can't hold a job. I can't, I'm divorced, and just all of these horrible this stuff going on and all these things. And people starting to, hey Ron, you look good. Hey Ron, you sound good. And I was one, and this is me. Please, this is me. Early on, my first sponsor did say to me, I don't think you should share much at all. At least not in the beginning. You don't have much to offer. Really all you're going to talk about is how to get drunk. We're the ones who know how to get sober. You need to listen first. And that did make sense to me. And I learned how to listen, which is a critical piece for any leader to have. And as I started to share some, realizing, I still remember one of the first times somebody said, "Wow, after I shared something, I really relate with what Ron just said." And I remember sitting up and I was like, "Wow, wow, that's really cool. Maybe I do have something to offer here." And yeah, again, just so important. And as the time passed and I accumulated more years, I still love getting to meetings early. I love talking to anybody who's there, and especially the newcomers. I mean, Hugo, I went to a meeting right before we came on the air, and this guy walked in. I didn't recognize him, and I was like, "Hi, my name is Ron. Are you new?" And he said, "Yeah, my name is Devin, and I have 3 days." And I was like, "Oh my God, Devin, we're so glad to have you here." And again, just the opportunity to talk to him, to let him know, number one, he's in a safe place, and as other people started coming in too, Devin, do you realize how wonderful it is? How cool it is? Look what you've accomplished. You've gone 3 days without drinking. That's amazing. And it really, really is. When you think about it, at least for me, I
Right.
couldn't go 3 days. So I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah, no, you do. Exactly. I mean, in the beginning, it just takes those little things are so important. The little bit of encouragement or giving people certain little roles to do things. And I think people don't realize when you are secretary, all those other things, it forces you to meet more people, talk to the newcomers, talk to the old timers, do certain tasks, make sure the room's set up, literature, whatever needs to be done. And you start then you and then on to me is you start to understand
That's right.
the program better. You understand how meetings are run or should be run. You understand how it's not easy. You got to stay on task. Pick something. There's a lot of little things, but all those things depend on you just got to jump in.
Right.
But let's jump into question number three. Question number three is, a lot of people have a lot of dreams. When they're growing up, whether they're drinking, not drinking, but especially when we're in our addictions, we keep saying, someday I'm going to do this. I'm going to travel here. I'm going to buy this car. I'm going to do all these wonderful things. And they never have the time, the money, the energy, whatever it is. Tell us something that you dreamed about before you actually found recovery and that you actually were finally able to do. I'll give you and I talked to you, like one of the things I kept saying, I'm going to run a marathon one day. And when you're drinking and gambling, you never quite have the time or the energy. There's always something that derails because you have to stay on schedule for about 4 months. To me, like they say,
Yeah,
you can do it. People who try to run a marathon in 2 weeks or a month, it's a disservice. It's like you gotta put in more miles. You got to do the training. But that's something that I did. Tell us something that you were able to achieve.
I'm going to go back to my ex-wife. My ex-wife, Kathy, worked in training and development, leadership development. And whenever she was telling me about what she liked to do, most of the time I was half drunk or fully loaded, no matter what. And I always thought to myself, I would be good at that. I'd love to do that. I would be good at that. Our marriage fell apart. And 6 months after getting sober, I ended up getting a job with Toshiba doing sales training. Things evolved, things evolved, things evolved. I have been doing training and development, leadership development for the last 32 years. And it is unbelievable to me. And I remember the first time I could say it to people when I was when I was facilitating a class or whatever and saying, guys, I'm good at this. I'm confident about this. And for me to be able to say that out loud was incredible. Just absolutely incredible. To go from no self esteem, this is something I would love to be able to do, and doing it now, You have to be kidding me. I mean, about, I don't know, 3 years ago now, whatever it was, I was invited to be a keynote speaker for a company. They were having a big sales meeting out in Phoenix. And keynote speaker, I'm on the stage and I had given them an assignment to do. It was going to take them about 5, 6 minutes, whatever. I'm standing on the stage. I was up there by myself. I was looking out at them and I just kind of looked up a little bit and just thought to myself, oh my God, oh my God, look where I am. Look, look at this. Look at what I've accomplished here. And I didn't do it alone. And I'm not trying to say, look what I've done. All the help that I got throughout the years from all of those meetings, from everybody in the rooms, from the sponsors that I've had, and just the mentors that I've had over the years. None of this happens. None of it without being sober. None of it.
Right. I agree. Congrats on that. That's always a big achievement to get the keynote address at any type of major audience. So,
Can I back up for 1 second?
mhm.
Only because Hugo, when we mentioned the Giants before,
Uh-huh.
something else that I dreamed of when I was drinking. God, I'd love to be a season ticket holder. God, that would be so much fun. I'd love to be able to do that. My very close late friend, sadly, Paul. He was my sponsor for well over 20 years. He was my best friend for many years. He was a Giant season ticket holder, and of course, we used to talk about that all the time. An opening came up within their group. He just came up to me. He goes, "Hey, my friend, how'd you like to be a Giant season ticket holder?" And I'm looking at him. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" And he was like, "No, no, you can join our group." And this season coming up, I can't remember what year it is. I think it's going to be season 30 that I've been a season ticket holder. A dream come true. Just an absolute dream come true.
Excellent. I love hearing those stories, because that's really what makes life about. What gives you overwhelming joy?
That's
What
right.
gives you contentment? So you can look back and say, these are the things that I wanted to do or I wanted to accomplish, and then you set out and you did it.
You know, I'll tell you this too. And again, just for me, and Paul and I used to talk about this a lot. It's about the joy of living.
Right.
My wife and I in 2019 spent 16 days in Africa, which was just an amazing adventure. We had gone on a river cruise on the Zambezi River. The cruise is coming to an end, and we're getting closer to the dock. Lori and I were sitting there just by ourselves. There were passengers were about. I was holding her hand. The sun was setting. It was just absolutely majestic. And I was just like, Lori, it doesn't get better than this. It just does not get better than this. I'm here with you. We're in this incredible place. I mean, I didn't say to her I'm sober. It goes without saying. And just unbelievable. I mean, these are the things. These are the things that I dreamt about. And they're not dreams anymore. They're experiences, they're memories.
Right. That's the beauty. Well, with that, we are going to conclude this episode of the 1% in Recovery podcast. Remember, life is wonderful.